our question of the day. We've all watched, or at least we all watched, the vetting of the judges or the justices to the Supreme Court. And then there's one particular one that caught the attention of many. I will say Dennis Adjei, right?
Dennis Dominic Adjei, Justice Sir Dennis
Justice-
Dominic Adjei.
Justice
Sir Dennis Dominic, or say Justice.
Justice Sir.
Justice.
Justice Dennis Dominic Adjei.
Adjei,
So
yeah.
he has both the Dennis and the Dominic.
That's
DD.
Yeah, that,
Now he raised a very important issue that the eligibility for sex, at least for the females, is from 16 upwards. Why do we have to wait till they are 18 years before they get married? Because we give them that eligibility because we are thinking at that age they are well informed and then they are wise enough to engage in intimate relationship. So the 2-year gap between 16 to 18, what should they do? Should we increase the age of eligibility to 18, or should we reduce the marriage eligibility to probably 16? So Black, what's the initial thoughts on that? That's our question for the day. What do you make of his statement?
I think that's a very thoughtful, statement, from the judge. The Constitution grants you the liberty to engage in certain activities or engage in certain practices within a specific or at a certain age or within some age brackets, right? But then you have to say that at age 16, even though the Constitution allows you to engage in sexual activities, however, this is in sync with your moral life. Because the Constitution allows you to engage in sex at age 16. However, you have to assume that between 16 and 18, where you can marry, are you just going to have sex for having sex sake? If this particular law can be amended, that would rather help us. Probably moving the age a bit further to 18. Because in this case, the Constitution allows, a girl. Because in this case, the argument is about a girl, so that means girl. So the Constitution allows a girl to get married at age 18. So I think that it should be it should be insane. But I think that the judge was emphatic.
Yes.
Right, and his emphasis was laid on girls.
It's actually about
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying, that I'm just using the girl child or probably the girl because of what the judge said, all right, or what the judge intimated. So I think that once it is 18 for you to get married, why not we move the sexual age a bit further to 18 so that it will be in sync. Not as if you can have sex at 18 and rather get married at age 18. You can engage in sexual activities at age 16 and then get married at age 18. So you have to say between 16 and 18, so the 2 years about what is really going to happen. Are they just going to be engaging in politics, or are they just going to be having sexual activities? And moreover, this even give them the impetus, or give them the liberty to be engaging in all kind of sexual. Because the Constitution permits that. So what the Constitution is saying that once you hit 16, you know what to do. So I think that the age should be the age should be move a bit further to 18, and then but even aside the 18 that I'm talking about, you're also looking at the moral aspect. Because as a religious country, we are looking at it from the moral side. Our religions. Our religious belief do not permit someone getting married and having sex.
You are proposing. You are saying that you do not thought of that on that issue.
Yes.
Is that it should be moved
from the legal side
for the girls who have sex.
On the basis of
from 16 towards 18.
Exactly.
And what's the initial thoughts on that?
Okay. I think because they were dealing with judges, it's also about what if that girl should engage in sex, and there are issues that come out of that, whether that case can be whether that case can have a hearing in the court. So that means that if you are having consensual sex at 16, then there's no way you can come and say somebody did this to you, or there's the likelihood that the person may say it was consensual. So I would think that they should move it up, because at age 16, you hardly have, especially with emphasis on the girl child, you hardly have that exposure to allow you to make the right decisions regarding intimate relationships. So it's mostly going to be a
Let her finish.
mistake. It's mostly going to be a mistake. It's mostly going to be something that you think of later that I wish I had not done. And then if there are implications to it, pregnancy, STDs, all of that, you may not know to guard yourself against. So I think that giving the legal as in the ability to, or is it the ability, the right to have sex at 16, I think this should just be a part of, or it should be amended to bring it up to 18 if people want to really pay attention to it, so that if you can do it, then you should be able to marry, so that you go and do it at its rightful place. But if you can't marry, then there's no need doing it,
The
because
question, okay, you finish, please.
because you may say it's just 2 years, people should have self-control, but there are people who would also say yes, we are it's becoming dynamic and people are getting to know things. So one person might strive on it and say yes, oh, I'm allowed to do it at age 16. So you can challenge your parents and say yes. Based on that, you can't really challenge me. So yes, let's just move it up to
But
protect.
you said you mentioned something. You mentioned something in your comment that it's about control. You know, when you speak of the sexual thing, it's not a matter of legally or not legally. The children are learning now, and then it's about the feeling inside. So even at the age, you realize that some countries like Niger and all that, their eligibility level is at 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 13. No marriage, but eligibility to
Sex.
sex, 13. I think some of the countries like Cameroon and other social habits are 14 or so. Yes. Now, if you say we should shift it to 18 years, are we imprisoning the children, or because basically they need to learn some of these things? They are not the fact that there's something in the Bible that says that it's not everything that's permissible that's expedient or beneficial, right? Good. But the permissibility is meant for growth. You understand me? So is it that we can only have sex when we marry legally? Because if you are speaking about that, then we are asking that question. Is it that legally, we know religiously and all that, you are supposed to marry before you have sex?
Exactly.
But legally, are you supposed to marry before you have sex? Because you have 30-year-olds who are not married but they're having sex. So if you are speaking of the eligibility and then you are asking for the movement upwards, the issue of control and start coming. Or what do you speak about that? What do you say?
I think regardless of whether it's in the law or not, there are still people engaged in sexual activity even at 9. Whether they were just experimenting something they saw on TV, whether they were just playing and ended up there, the degree or whatever doesn't matter. If you try it once, you can try it another time, and then you get better eventually. So I think that whether it's written on in the law or not may not affect that much. In fact, I wouldn't even say it's not been on my mind that it's even in the law that 16 you can have sex. I'm yet to even read it to see how it's even coined. So, but it's happening. Even beyond the 13 and 14 ages, we have a lot. So if we should, now that we know, and once it hits your mind, it's something that keeps you thinking. And yes, why shouldn't we? We've always advocated that do the right thing right. What are you having the sex for? What is the sex for? Is it just for joy? For what are they learning? If you get there, you would learn it. There's nothing that you would be able to learn that much that would secure your marriage. I mean, in terms of the sex. And legality, morality has always been greater than legality. But legality is at least, we put it in context so that we can be able to deal with the issue. For morality, we may not be able to capture it all. Just as I said, there are people who are doing it even below far lower years. So we can't go there. It depends on where the family the person is coming from, their teachings and all. People will still fall short by all means. But legally, to be able to deal with it as a country, legally, we are capping it at 16. So if we are saying that, what is the sex for? Under normal circumstances, you should be able to abstain, because at 16, where are you? You're either entering secondary school or you've entered.
First year.
You've entered, and if you're in a boarding house, for example, you are guarded so much so that I'll believe that you are guarded from that. I mean, going that far. Then maybe on vacation, we are being guarded to be able to control against that. So if we are capping it at 16, then what do we lose? We put it at 18. That's not to say it won't happen or we are stopping. No, people will still experiment. If there are still mistakes that will happen. But where legal issues should arise out of it, that is where I feel the judge's focus was also on.
So Black, let's welcome it on the same thing she's speaking on. What do you pay the control, the children, because as she said, some girls even start doing it at age 9.
Yeah, way below.
Way below. And then probably someone is feeling the thing at age 9, holds themselves all the way. Then you expect the person to get to age 18 before the person can have the feel. Because when you get to the adolescent age, we have lust. Everyone at the level of lust. You get it? But more or less, like it's a saving. The age is meant to. Okay, now you can do it small. Yeah.
I mean, what?
From what she said, I want you to take it from there.
From my standpoint, there is nothing like small. From my standpoint, there's nothing like small in the sense that, I mean, even though you can start at 16, I'm also looking at it from a point where, when you say that, I mean, they can't control themselves, then in this case, we are rather giving them the room to operate more. Because in a situation where they are being advised, they are being counseled to control themselves, they are still doing it. I get my point. So now, I still hold on to the view that, I mean, at age 16, just like she said, you are in a boarding house. What are you going to do there? I mean, in a boarding house. Yes, that came to mind. Because I wanted to say that essentially they are these students.
Yeah, that was just one aspect of the
She was getting to that, but
so for me, I mean, you see, once others have been able to control themselves up to age 18 and above, I think the rest must.
Who are the others?
Oh yeah, I mean we all know.
Who are the others? Who are the
No,
others?
I'm just saying that. I mean we've all been through this stage. Certainly, we still have people who are way below 16,
yes,
or who are even 16 and are still controlling themselves. So,
okay,
for those who are engaging it in years below or in ages below that, I think that they are just not being morally upright, or they are just maybe, like she said, just doing it for the fun of it. So I think that this issue must also this issue must spark national conversation, whereby people must come in and then probably educate people more for them to know they need to control themselves. Because when you check the statistics, boys and girls below age 16 are really enjoying and probably engaging in sexual activity that you have no idea of. So I'm thinking that they should be able to control themselves till age 18. And even with the age 18, for me, I still think that it is still too young.
Really?
Yeah. Really? Yeah. From my perspective. Really? Oh, yeah. From my perspective. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That is my perspective, right? Yeah. So they should be able to control themselves, because age 16, you are in you've entered secondary school, either in your first year or second year, right? When you hit 18, you are still in the uni or probably about to enter uni. So when it comes to some of these things, I think that they should be focused with their education. When you graduate and you want to do whatever you want to do, I think for that one, maybe if there can be a constitutional amendment whereby maybe they can cap it a little above 20. We are looking at it from the legal side of it. For religion, maybe unless they carry out a crusade on that.
We also be looking at all these things in the wrong way. We are looking at it on one side, not looking at the other side. Now, you could see, back in the time when our parents were getting married at early ages, we had less, how do you call it? Fornication. They married at early ages. You understand? Because they were groomed to mature much, much earlier. When we speak of a longer term in education, we don't groom them to mature much earlier. We just groom them with academic. If you look at our academic style here, I'm coming. If you look at our academic style here, it doesn't really give maturity. It just gives you something to read and to pass, to chew and to pass. Practicality is not there. There is nothing there like that. So you find the children even getting to 20 years and they are still not matured. But when you look back then, when you look at our politicians now, the ones there now, they started way before. and they were mature. Even back then, we were watching them whilst we were younger, and we saw them as elderly people. No, they were far young than our ages now.
Because of how they behaved.
Because of how they were even trained, how they were even brought up.
Exactly.
Now, if you are speaking on that, don't you think we should reduce the marriage age instead of increasing the marriage age, so that they have the eligibility to marry earlier? Looking at the fact that, let me even give it to speak on the girls. Now you realize that so many medical professionals will tell you that girls by age 21, 22, you need to have given birth. You need to have given birth. Issues of fibroids, issues of breast cancer, and all that will come in play. Yes, because if you've not given birth by age 30, they tell you if your breast haven't sucked, no one has sucked the breast, that's it, a baby, you stand a higher risk of getting breast cancer. Ladies who menstruate, because of the things we eat and all the weather conditions and all that, depletion of the ozone layer, it's causing almost every lady has fibroids, reducing their fertility rate. So instead of looking at it by increasing, why don't you think of it like reducing the ages of marriage? Let me bring out here so they come in. Or you continue, then I'll come in.
Well, I think, with the question that you raised, right, let's not look at that from one side of the coin. Because if you are seeing that medical doctors, have come out with, a research that, girls should, give birth between the age bracket of 21 and 23. But we're also looking at it where if you open the floodgate, right, girls from all kinds of homes, probably especially those from very poor backgrounds, then they will just give birth anyhow, whereby we'll have population explosion. Right, the birth rate will increase, and you have to talk that.
I'm actually speaking on their health condition. I'm not speaking.
No, but you see, yes.
I'm speaking.
Their health is also very
I'm
good.
speaking on their health.
Yes, their health is very
the
good.
Complications of birth,
because they are very fertile now.
No, it's not the
strong
fertility; it's the complication of birth. But when you give birth at age 30 and above, most ladies have complications. Complications that are detrimental to their health, even to their life. You understand? I'm not speaking of the men. Let's leave.
No, I'm talking about the ladies.
The ladies. I'm speaking of the men. The ladies. Sorry.
I mean,
so
for us,
if you are speaking of the giving birth, you should also be considering their health. In addition.
That's what I'm saying. That you see, now you are looking at it from a medical point, whereby doctors are saying
it's one aspect.
That's what I'm saying. So that aspect, when you open the floodgate for that aspect, then you are right. So now you see, we live in human beings, human beings are human beings, where they will only look at it from one side of the view that, okay, fine, so now the marital issue you drop it downward to, let's say, 15. So now assuming that is going to be the case, then you have all manner of girls just giving birth, because now we are married, so we can give birth. But the essence of that, can't we also, as a nation, we have to also think thoroughly about issues where, when we drop it further, as you were saying, between age 21 and 23, where people are giving birth, where population will explode. I get my point. Same burden will be shifted to the incumbents for them to come and take control. I get my point. So you can see that there's more or less like a national conversation that we're having. But then there are so many factors that we need to look at as far as marital age is concerned. Other than that, we'll just look at it from a medical side of view, and then by the time realize, but you see, from the legal side,
let me bring us here. I asked that question because you took a stand on the increments. Haji also took a stand on it.
Exactly.
And then I'm taking another side. That why don't we look at? So it's not if we are speaking on one side. You have raised an issue on one side, and I'm saying that why don't you look at the other side too? So it's not as if it's the one side that's happening. You have raised the other side. And Haji, let me.
I was just trying to counter the other side.
Yes, let me come. Haji, if we reduce, I'm picking it from what Sir Black said. If we reduce it, we have advocates of family planning and all that. Why don't you train the children to mature? Why don't you train them? Because if you're actually complaining about the age gap between 16 to 18 years, and you say even some people have it as low as 9, right, which is illegal. Do you get it? Why don't you concentrate, instead of looking at the legalities, whether reducing or increasing, concentrate on what? Teaching the children the practicality, letting the children know. You understand me? Now, even if you even reduce it to 15 years, the children will know that if I give birth to one child, I need to be careful not to give birth the following year, but I can space it because of there are medications and all sort of things that can help me out.
The raising the age for having sex to 18, I think where we are, if you take Ghana for example, I think that would be easier. We are now striving as a people for higher learning. We are striving for people are, as he said, you open the flag, people will giving birth by heart.
Yeah.
People are trying to control all of that. We are looking at economic issues. So if we are doing that and we reduce the age, you see, reducing the age, younger girls get married earlier. The
Yes.
focus is different. If you are getting married, you are focusing first on building a family before you go to school. Maybe later, the dynamics are different. But here, we focus on higher learning and all of those. So in school, children stay in school longer. We learn these things from friends and all of that, and that's why these things are strive at the years that it's strive at. But then we still hold on to the higher education, letting girls get married early. See, there are two parts of the coin. If girls are going to get married at 16, then that education of you have to strive to go so high before you look at the other side, it's also going to reduce.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking the question. That it shouldn't matter. Let me start from 16. If girls are allowed to marry at 16, we still encourage them to school. Now you see,
Yes,
now I'm coming. Now you see, now that you realize there's this BC. A girl gave birth
Yes.
to a baby boy.
Yeah.
We've stopped. Back in the time, in my time, when you're pregnant, you're expelled immediately.
Exactly.
Immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now, in this current time, when you are pregnant, you are allowed to go and give birth and come and continue. Probably you might be a year behind your mates, but you are allowed to come and continue. Telling you that it's not, you've not done something so heinous.
That is teenage pregnancy you engage in. Get married to somebody.
I'm coming, let me land on that. That's teenage pregnancy.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that why don't you make the girls mature enough? You understand?
Exactly.
Mature enough that even if you reduce the marriage age to 16, she'll still know how to take care of herself.
That's why, you see, I'm not finished with my point. So I'm saying that when you raise it to 18, it's easier for us as a country, as in where we are. But if we are bringing it down to 16, it takes a lot of. It's like a reverse. That we have to reverse the thinking of people, because we've gotten to a point where we are running after things that are detrimental to that. So we'd have to come back and train them that you are a girl, you are a female. This is your orientation. There's an orientation that will help that flow. And there's an orientation that will help that 18 years, as in getting married after 25 and all that, and facing those complications. Now people are even preserving sperm so that even if it's 40, they'll marry at 40, because, well, yes, the things I'm chasing after, those are more important to me. That is the world in which we live now. That is where we are striving. So if we are talking about that now, it will be easier to raise it. But as at the time we are raising it, we can also start that advocacy for re-educating the girl child to know that this is your orientation, this is how you should behave, this is how you should look at this, train the children to know that, okay, you all the generation comes from you, so this is how you should think of yourself. You may get married too, because at 16 anyway, who are you having the sex with? Is it another 16-year-old boy? Because that one won't send you anywhere. There's nothing you can learn from that one. If it's an elderly man, then he can as well marry you. Yes, and if he can marry you, then he's mature. He can also train you to become that woman. And then later that girl, after giving birth, can go back to school and then put herself at a pedestal. Then the children are following her. But we have moved from that too much. So it's either of the two.
The exact point I was trying to bring in for her to address is what she has just brought in. That yes, if you can have sex at 16 years, why can't you marry at 16 years? You understand me? Because nothing prevents you from going to school, even when you are married.
So should the law be?
That's what I'm saying, that we are looking at it on one side, that yes, it should be increased, because actually said that it's easier when you increase it, right?
Yes.
But why don't you look at but why don't you also look at it the other way? That will reduce the age of marriage from 18 years to 16 years. That if I want to have sex with you at age 16, I need to be able to marry you. Now, if that is the case, then the girls need to start the orientation of this sex thing far earlier. Now, one thing is that we don't really give them the orientation earlier because we think they are too young. We don't speak about it because we feel they are too young. They are too young for you to educate them on sex.
And marriage.
Marriage, because they think, they need to get to 18 years. And that's one reason why the marriage life has actually increased amongst the girls. Someone comes to girl, let's face reality. They come to them even at age 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, even 25, and then they can open their lips to tell you, I'm too young for marriage. I'm too young for marriage. You can understand that because they don't know anything about marriage. They've not been oriented. So they are there just like that. So at times they are there, and then like last time you said something, when they keep on going, and then they realize, hey, I'm growing. Oh, they don't marry because they feel, yes, there's a marriage thing. They feel because I'm aging. Let me just enter. And then they enter anything at all.
Marry out of pressure.
Marry out of pressure. So Black, you give your final comment on it. I think this thing.
Yeah, I think.
Final comment.
This is the last comment. We'll do a part 2 right now. We'll do a part 2. So
right, I think that since this is basically.
So your final comment.
Yeah, I think this since this is basically about the girls, that doesn't give us the right or the liberty to still give them that kind of privilege to marry or have sex, or let me say marry at 16. No, because looking at the girl child these days, there are so many advocacies who are into the crusade of trying to tell more about the girl child, what to do about marriage, what to do about sex. So I think that still there must be some form of national conversation about this, so that if the age can be moved a bit upward, like I did say, into the early or mid-20s, that would be better. Because let's not look at it from the side where you can have sex, because you see, when you open, because like age 16, what are you doing? Age 16, what are you doing? And you see, you ask yourself, would parents even allow their daughters to even marry at that age? That's another angle. They will not allow, because in this case, like you said, things practice, we can have legal practices. However, are all legal practices moral? Some parents will ask this question. So for me, like I said, I mean, the Bible has already said that we have the right to do everything, but the answer of that are all expedient.
Okay, give me your final comment on this.
Okay, so as I said, it could either be 18 or 16, but then however we go about it will determine what the benefits we gain from it. So if it's 18, then we are talking about it's helping the system we are building now. That same system that allows us to be conscious of children's feelings, because we know that they are not going to marry now. And so the feelings cannot be left out. We must provide for them to have sex and all of that as they go along, as they are learning. Whilst they are not marrying, they are doing it. But if you go back to 16, there is no issue of what's the girl's feeling, because the child has gotten to the stage where she needs to perform her conjugal rights, to say what. She gets married. There's nothing wrong with getting married at 16 if the person has been well trained to get married at 16. I know Islamic communities and there are other cultures that allow that. It's being frowned upon because of where we are looking at. We are not looking the other way. But the other way at 18 and to do all of this, enjoy all the benefits of not getting married, but enjoy all the benefits of marrying and not married, is what has introduced the dating scene. And the dating scene is not helping us either. We date, and you can't bring the people home. And at the end, your mother will open her mouth one day when you're 25 and say, you're getting older. Ask yourself, what's that supposed to mean? Yes, but you are dating and hiding. So it depends on where we take it from. You see, we've come a long way. Getting to 16 now will mess everything up. So we can put her 18, but the orientation needs to change.
So we'll end this today. So we'll continue another time today. Thank you.